Welcome to chapter 13 of the book of Judges. The angel appears to Manoah and his wife. And it begins, the sons of Israel proceeded to act, to do. 4160. It's used all sorts of ways, depends on the context of the wording, following or before it. Wickedly, they began to act wickedly before the Lord. And the Lord delivered them into the hand of the Philistines 40 years. So this 40 years now is added on to our total. Before the last judge that we talked about was Abdon, who reigned 8 years in Ephraim, was 350 years. So this would now make it 390 years without mentioning Samson's being there and doing things yet. And there was one man from out of Arah, or Zorah, the King James, from out of the tribe, Felis, of phylum, comes from that word in classification of animals and plants. He was from out of the tribe of Dan, and the name to him was Manoah. Now, Dan, go up to our map, is over here along, gotta find it, there it is, Dan, on the ocean. Right south of that is the Gaza Strip today. So these Philistines, and they now be called Palestinians, come from the same word. They're all down over in this area here. And his wife was sterile, stira, because should have highlighted that transliteration, and had not given birth. It doesn't say how old she is. Like Sarah is very old, but it doesn't say. And an angel of the Lord appeared to the woman, the Gineka, an angelos, so we know it's from the Lord, so therefore it's an angel. Otherwise it was from a man, it would be messenger. And said to her, behold, indeed, you are sterile and have not borne, but in the womb you shall have one in the womb, and shall bear a son. Wow. That must be a joy for a woman that's been sterile, I would think, that she's going to have a son. It would be a cruel thing for somebody to come and say that was going to happen, but it didn't. But she hears these things, and he continues and says, and now guard and do not drink enon, wine, vino comes from that, and liquor, and do not eat any unclean thing. For behold, you have one in the womb, the gastric, should be highlighted also, and you shall bear a son, and an iron razor shall not ascend upon his head, for the boy will be a Nazarite to God from out of the womb. Now exactly, Nazarite, he's from Dan, so he's not from Nazareth. So a Nazarite from out of the womb. So here's some interesting things in this short phrase here. He's going to be from out of the womb. So today, so much of the world, abortion is becoming the norm for birth control. If you don't want a child, then you abort it. And all over the world, the United States where I live, when you try to tell people that this is a living creature, just like, would you kill a whale, or you care more about animals than these people do than they do about a human being, and they can take ultrasounds and see the pictures of it and everything, and yet it's convenient for a woman to put the baby to death, and they do. But know that when your person is doing that it's murder. And because God decides when life begins, it begins in the womb. Many places it says that in the Bible. It doesn't begin with the child leaves the body of the mother. And so this is, I think, find interesting in being a Nazarite to God. Now, Jesus was called the Nazarene, and that was because he was from Nazareth. The two shouldn't be confused, because Jesus did drink wine. Now, I'm not sure about his hair, and then it continues, and he shall begin to deliver Israel from out of the hand of the Philistines. Now, here's another interesting word here, to deliver. Sozo, as I've mentioned many places before, is translated into King James to save. But as I mentioned many places, probably getting tired of hearing it, the save is a one-time deal. You've done it. You rescue, basically. And to deliver, delivering can be a lifetime experience, or it can be a short period of time. Just depends. And beginning to deliver, and now how would you begin to save? See, it's just using the word save for this sozo, to me, it just doesn't go, because I'm dealing with the Old and the New Testament. So if I would have started translating it to going along with the theology of the day and use the save, then what would I do when I get back into the Old Testament with the same word? Come up with something completely different? No. So deliver is the best word I see for this. So he's going to begin to deliver Israel from out of the hand of the Allophion, the Philistines. Now there's a mark there, and down below it says the Aldine in 16 have Philistine. That's the Philistines. That's the actual printed pronunciation of the word, Philistine. But in Allophion is sort of a word that they used for these people, other tribes it means. And it's also used in a derogatory manner in some places, Philistine. It's like a rough person or crude or something. And the woman, the Guinea, went, the gynecologist, misogyny, all kinds of the Guinea. A woman, you could say wife, the wife went, but I was going to change that to wife, but, it's a wife and a woman, it's the same word. And she spoke to her android is a derivative, saying, well, a man of God came to me, and his appearance was as the appearance of an angel of God, very prominent. And I did not ask him from what place he is, and his name he did not report to me. And he said to me, behold, you have one in the womb, and you shall give birth to a son. And now do not drink wine and strong drink, and do not eat any uncleanness, for the boy will be a Nazarite of God from the womb until the day of his death. And Manoah besought the Lord. Well, now, this is something to think about. I thought about it, is like, well, if a woman is sterile and she hasn't had a child, now they may not even be trying anymore to have children. And let's say he was out working in the fields for a couple of months, and then he comes back, and all of a sudden she's pregnant. Well, it'd be the same thing as what happened with Joseph and Mary. Well, the man would start thinking a lot. And then it said Manoah besought of the Lord, which was good, rather than getting angry and knowing that but we don't know that was the case or not, but I'm just putting that up as a possibility. And he said, be to me, O Lord, the man of God whom you sent. Let him come yet once more to us and enlighten us what we should do with the boy to be born. So there's a righteous man, seeks God, similar to Joseph. And God heeded the voice of Manoah, the phones, a phone. And the angel of God came again to the woman. And she sat in the field. Agriculture comes from that. And Manoah, her husband, was not with her again. And the woman hastened and ran and reported to her husband and said to him, behold, the man has appeared to me. Let me see, I have to go down here. I guess it didn't jump. The man appeared to me, coming in this day to me. And Manoah rose and up and went after his wife. And he came to the man, and he said to him, are you the man speaking to the woman? And the angel said, I am. Now, he doesn't know it's an angel. We know that. We don't find that out until verse 16. So he doesn't know who this man is. Did he have sex with my wife? Who is this man? Is he really from God? Well, I don't know. I don't know him from Adam. The whole thing is really weird. That's what Manoah may be saying. All kinds of thoughts going through Manoah's head and mind. And Manoah said, now, your word going through, what will be the distinguishing manner of the boy and of his ergonomics derivative, his works? What's the different about him? And the angel of the Lord said to Manoah, of all which I spoke to the woman, let her guard. And so the distinguishing thing is what the wife is not to do, is to drink wine and so forth. Doesn't say much more. From everything which goes forth from out of the grapevine she shall not eat. And wine and liquor she shall not drink, and everything unclean she shall not eat. All as much as I gave charge to her, let her guard. Well, that's not really an answer to his question about the boy. And Manoah said to the angel of the Lord, well, we should indeed force you to stay, and shall prepare before you a kid of the goats. We want you to come to dinner. And the angel of the Lord said to Manoah, if she should hold me, I will not eat from your breads. And if you should offer a whole burnt offering, you shall offer it to the Lord. For Manoah did not know that he was an angel of the Lord. So he's not going to eat with them, but yet he can offer to the Lord. This is what the angel is saying. And Manoah said to the angel of the Lord, well, what is the name to you, that whenever your word should come to pass, that we should glorify you? Sounds like he's believing him now, and the angel of the Lord said to him, why is this you ask of my name? For it is wonderful. Oh boy, I just love this verse. It's wonderful. The name is wonderful. In the other places we find this name appearing in Genesis 32, 29 and 30, when Jacob wrestled with the angel, but actually wrestled with God. And it says, and Jacob asked and said, announce to me your name. And he said, why is this you ask my name, which is wonderful? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of that place, Sight of God, for I saw God face to face, and my life was preserved. So he had appeared before, and then he appeared, mentions in Deuteronomy 28:58, it says, if you should not hearken to do all the discourses of this law being written in this scroll, to fear this wonderful and valued name, the Lord your God. So the name is wonderful and valued. And then in Psalms 8, 1 and 9, it says, O Lord, how wonderful is your name in all the earth. So his name is wonderful. In Isaiah 9, 6, it says, and his name is called Messenger of Great Counsel, Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Potentate, Ruler of Peace, Father of the about-to-be Eon. Now, wonderful and counselor could be separated with a comma, maybe not, I don't know. But wonderful is there in Isaiah 9, 6. We know the name of Jesus is the name by which we must be delivered. No other name under heaven mentions that in the New Testament. So Jesus, to me, is the name. Yahweh, I get a lot of people that are into the Christian Messianic movement, which is fine. And they use the word Yahweh, which I don't think it is. It's Yah, as I mentioned in the introduction to this book, Joshua. But the name is Jesus, it mentions in the New Testament. So I don't use Yahweh or any of those names for God, because I use Jesus. Because right here in Isaiah it says, a messenger of great counsel, wonderful, he's a counselor, mighty God. So God, potentate, ruler of peace, and Jesus brings peace. Father of the about-to-be Eon, and Jesus says, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. So to me, Jesus is the wonderful name. In verse 19, it continues, and Manoah took the kid of the goats, and the sacrifice offering, and offered upon the rock to Kyrio, to the wonderful being, the wonderful being, Piunti. Now, this word is the one that's used, and it's got to get this straight. It's the verb 4160. The verb is to be, and 4160. And this form, piunti, is a participle, and it's present active, masculine or neuter, dative, singular, because it's to the wonderful being, and that's a dative. In the dative, the to. And in the place in Exodus 3:13-14, it says, and if they shall ask me, that is, Moses is asking God, what is the name given to him? What shall I say to them? And God said to Moses, I am the one being. And he said, thus you shall say to the sons of Israel, the one being has sent me to you. Now, the one being is also to be. It's a different Greek word than the verb of 4160. This is 15:10:6, and it's also a participle, active, masculine, nominative, singular, of to be, 15:10:6. A little bit of studying, you might want to check it out. If you have an analytical lexicon, you can see the difference here. Now, you'll say, well, what's the difference between using one being and the other being? That's a good question, and I can't. It would probably take somebody that knows more Greek grammar than I do to explain it, and so I'm not going to try. But I know they both are to be. But the being one, 4160, could be also acting, or it could be doing, the doing one. It could be other things, like I mentioned, depends on the context. And here, to the wonderful being one or the wonderful doing one, where the other, this one, 4160, to do, has to do with to be. It's actually to be is what it means. Now, in the infinitive, and the same thing with the infinitive of the 15:10:6. But this one can have other words instead of acting or sacrificing, all sorts of other words depending on the context. Like to the wonderful being one sacrificing. So you would the wonderful one the wonderful being. Well, I'm trying to think of how it would work here, but well, it depends on the context, and I'm trying to think of a better one, but I can't. But anyway, this is more of a general. Could be other things where the 15:10:6 that it mentions that who's God's name in Exodus 3:13-14 is specific with the to be. And Manoah and his wife were viewing. And it happened in the flame ascending on top of the altar unto the heaven, that the angel of the Lord ascended in the flame of the altar. So all of a sudden he goes up. It's like Jesus in the cloud. And Manoah and his wife were viewing, and they fell upon their face, upon the ground, as probably all the 12 disciples when they saw Jesus going up. And the angel of the Lord did not proceed any longer to appear to Manoah and to his wife. Then Manoah knew that this was an angel of the Lord. And Manoah said to his wife, "Oh, to death we shall die, for we have looked at God." So I believe this was a theophany of God. As other places, it says an angel, but then it changes it into God and Kyrios, which it does here. Here the husband's all worried, but yet the wife, she calms him down, and she says, wife said to him, "Well, if the Lord wanted to kill us, he would not have received from out of our hand a whole burnt offering and a sacrifice offering. And he would not have enlightened us all these things, even as this time. And he would not have made these things audible to us, acoustics. We can hear it." So she understands more than he does, and kind of explains to him, well, if he really wanted to kill us like you're thinking, we would be gone by now. We wouldn't be talking, more or less. But he is. And the woman bore a son, and she called his name Samson. And the boy grew, and the Lord blessed him. And Pneuma, Spirit of the Lord, began to go forth with him in the camp of Dan, between Zorah and between Eshtaol. So the Philistine area, today the Palestinian area, is where Samson trotted and grew up there, knew the place very well. But a special thing happened to him in that Pneuma, the power of God, came into him. And so we will find out in chapter 14 all the things that happened to this man. Hope you'll join us in chapter 14. And until then, God bless.